Well, hello, traveler. Care to play a game of Orlog? All right, I'm going to stop there. So, hey, welcome out to the Dice Tower. My name is Chris, and today I'm taking a look at Orlog. This is a mini-game based in the Assassin's Creed Valhalla video game, and I swear the voice acting all sounds like that every time I look up little clips of it. Orlog is a two-player head-to-head dice dueling game. It's a mini-game, like I said, in that, and I tend to like these types of mini-games, whether the card games or the Chocobo races or the even Blitzball in the Final Fantasy series, anything in The Legend of Zelda, any of these kind of big open-world games where you can just kind of stop and play some little things like this, I tend to like. So let me show you how this game is played, then I'll give you my thoughts as someone who's not played the video game, but came to this dice game for the first time. Here's the setup for a game of Orlog. Each player is going to have 6 dice available to them and 15 health from the start of the game, as well as 3 of these God's Favor runes here. For the first game, it's recommended that you start with these 3 particular ones here, and on the backs they'll say what they are. But you can mix and match 3, or you can do some different methods to determine which 3 you'll have. You'll be spending these coins, or favor tokens, that you'll be earning over the course of the game to invoke them and to use their abilities. So you start with a coin toss here to determine who the first player is going to be based on heads or not heads. And then whoever's the first player will get the ridiculously large coin over here. I'm not sure if this is a retail version thing or not, but the coin will determine who goes first. The game is basically a Yahtzee-style rolling game where players will take turns rolling their dice up to 3 times and saving some of them. So the first player here is going to roll, and they rolled a bunch of axes and some arrows, which is good. So they're going to save some of these and keep the other ones here in the cup. The next player will go and look at what this first player has rolled, a couple arrows and a couple axes. So then they're going to take some of these items here which will help defend against those, as well as also put some pressure on with an attack of their own. Going back to the first player, they'll roll again, and they say, hey, you know what, this is not a bad roll. They'll keep those. The next player gets to roll, and they're going to choose which one of these things to keep. And then they will get their third roll. Obviously, if you lock up all your dice right away, you don't get that roll. Now that this has happened here, players are going to choose whether they want to invoke one of the God's Favor tiles, and they can plan to do it even before they have the coins to do it. They're just planning on exactly what they're going to do. And in this case, they're not going to do anything yet. And now these dice are going to resolve against each other here. So you can see arrows are going to go up against shields, and then axes are going to go against helmets. So at this point here, the first thing that'll happen is if you have a gold brim around your end of your dice, you're going to get that many of these favor coins. So in this case, 1, 2 for the first player. And then for me over here, I'm going to get 3 of them, which is a swell. 1, 2, 3. Next up, arrows are going to fire against shields. I have 1 shield, so I'll block the effect of 1 arrow, but the other 3 are going to come and do 3 damage to me. The first player to lose all 15 health loses the game. So now that the arrows are resolved here, axes against my helmets, I block all of them, and so I'm set. Now my arrows fire against this person, and they have no shield defense, so they're going to lose 2 health as well. And then lastly, I get this grabby hand thing, which means I get to grab one of these favor tokens or coins from the other player. Then the first player is going to pass back over this way, and then players will start rolling and taking turns again. So these God tiles here are going to allow you to do different things, like, for example, to regain a certain amount of health, or to do extra damage, or to make a sacrifice and do extra damage as well. And so there's different ways you'll be spending the favor tokens on these. You'll choose one of them per round that you're going to choose to activate. You can spend a certain amount. They have 3 different levels of how strong, how many of these coins you want to spend to do them, and then you can do it for that much. So you might be doing lots of extra damage by using these God's Favor tiles, or healing up some of your own health by using them, and the first player who gets reduced to 0 health is knocked out and loses. The other player is the winner. That's how you play Orlog. I think Orlog is a very mixed box when it comes to a lot of things. Let's start with component quality and the production of it. It's both simultaneously impressive to me and also unimpressive. The impressive parts are that they ported over this video game thing fairly well. The dice look good. They don't look great, but the dice do look good and they're legible. The dice cups, the dice trays that you roll into, look a little bit cheap, but hey, that's fine. It's cool that they included it because the original game did include them. But the runes, the gods' tokens, are almost illegibly small. The font on them is just insufferable. I really don't like it. And then you have to try and explain to people. And then with the basic rules, which is kind of what I showed you, you each start with the same 3, and so you know what each other's powers are. But then if you play where you get to select your own 3, you got to sit there and try and read your opponent. But hey, which ones are those again? Because I certainly cannot read them from across the table because I can barely read my own. If you think I'm over-exaggerating how bad it is, the font is teeny. But that's not the biggest issue that I have with the game. The biggest issue I have is the rulebook. The rulebook almost seems to just assume that you've played Assassin's Creed already and know the game rules, because the game rules are like, basically a paragraph that says you alternate first player rolling the dice, then you pick a god token, and then you resolve. It's not written well. I didn't realize my first few times playing that the first player doesn't do all 3 of their rolls, locking some dice and then re-rolling, and then the second the way it's supposed to be played is what I showed. First player rolls, locks some. The second player rolls all 6, locks some, and you alternate that way. The way the rules are written, it makes it sound like the first player rolls 3 times, second player rolls 3 times, resolve. It's better the way that it's supposed to be, unsurprisingly, but it doesn't convey those rules very well. I had to look up how to play videos of the actual video game to make sure that I was playing this right. Not a good foot forward, not a good step forward. Rulebook, bad. God's Tiles, bad. The game itself, though, I would enjoy in a video game sense. It's a little thing that you can do to kind of, get some little boosts and some boons throughout the game. As an actual head-to-head dice game, I find it fairly lacking. I think it's okay at best, but it really leans heavy towards get as many of those coins as you can, the favor tokens, to spend on the god's favors, because those are obviously way better than trying to axe and arrow someone to death. It's possible that, no, you have to balance them, of course, but if you can get nothing but those coins for a while and then just go to town with them, you're gonna do better most of the time. And that also seems to be the consensus in the video game itself. Now, doing this in a head-to-head setting, right? The problem is that this is a genre where other games already exist. Dice Throne is one that I would play hands down over this. 2-Player King of Tokyo is a game I would play hands down over this, and I don't think that starting King of Tokyo with 2 players is necessarily that great of an option. It's best with 3, 4, 5 players maybe, right? So this is kind of limited, and it also is not that exciting, and it seems like it's fairly obvious what to do. Work towards your god favor tokens. That's going to be the best way to win most of the time. So for me, I'm giving this game a 5.5. Like I said, the production has its real highs and then also has its lows. I cannot forgive that rulebook. That rulebook is atrocious if you, like me, never played the video game and thought, hey, this sounds like it could be okay. You basically gotta either reread the rules errata completely on Board Game Geek forums or online, or watch the video game being played in order to know how to play this. And that's a problem with me. And then the game itself it's okay. But 5.5 for me for Orlog from Valhalla's Creed, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. My name is Chris. Thanks for coming by the Dice Tower, and have yourselves a great day.